So once again, we're in the familiar surroundings of UKRL Loughborough, the former brush works site, where today I've been sound recording the 73.9 for our upcoming project. We've got a spare 5 minutes here, and I've got something exciting that I want to tell you all about. It's also in this yard, so I think we should go and have a walk around and see what it is. Now you see, I've always found these big cats pretty cool. And like the 73.9, I think they'd fill a gap in our range. But for today's announcement, these are a little bit too new. Let's go around here. For our latest Accurascale project, we've gone back to the 1980s, but it's not this Class 91. They're a little bit too fast. Luckily, our new announcement is right alongside, so let's go and see what it is. So without further teasing, it gives me great pleasure to announce the Accurascale Class 58 diesel electric. So the British Rail Class 58. Now this was started as a project in the 1970s from the bosses at British Rail looking at the fleet of recently introduced Class 56 locomotives that probably weren't quite as reliable as they'd expected. But they were also looking at a new modular design of locomotive, which was to become the Class 58. This employed a rigid frame with a sectional midsection with power unit and fans and electrical cubicles, as well as a pair of complete cabs either end. Now these could be assembled in separate sections and then finally all together put in one piece on the assembly floor. This was designed not just for the domestic market, but also for what they expected to become an export locomotive, which could be supplied in a variety of gauges, as well as different bogie configurations, body configurations, and even a single cab version. Initially, 35 locomotives were ordered by BR. Construction started in the late 1970s and early 80s, and that 35 was soon supplemented with a second batch of 15, which incorporated some of the detail differences and improvements based on the first batch. All 50 locomotives were outshopped from Brell in Doncaster in the new, at the time, rail freight red stripe livery. But then all would pass into the coal sector and carry the triple grey coal sector markings. Many people remember the Class 58s from the names that they carried. These were given to the locomotives based on the type of work that they were going to do. So your local colliery or power station could often be seen on the side of the locos. After the coal sector had passed into shadow franchise, all 50 locomotives became part of mainline freight. And initially rebranding with just the mainline logo on a triple grey locomotive, but the full repaint into aircraft blue happened for quite a few of them, such as this one behind me. With the creation of EWS, again, all 50 locomotives passed to EWS, some of them receiving the house colours of maroon and gold. With the end of the domestic workings in 2002, these locomotives hadn't reached their full design life, and still having quite a bit of life left in them, found themselves finally open to an export market. So locomotives went over to Holland for general rail freight, or into France and Spain as part of TGV or rail construction projects. Unfortunately, many of the locomotives that remained here were cut up, as well as the locomotives, once they had gone overseas, remained in storage after those projects had ended. We're quite lucky to have a few 58s that are in safe hands now, with this one privately owned behind me, and also 58016 in the hands of the Class 58 Preservation Group. Similar to the Class 60s, the Class 58s, a lot of people would think they're all the same, but there's quite a lot of differences and variations within this class of 50 locomotives. So I think we should have a look round, we'll have a walk round and we'll point out some of the differences that you can see in the real locomotives as well as the Accurascale model. So one of the notable features on the end of a Class 58, or one noticeable features, is the external pipework in front of the buffer beam. Now a lot of this is normally hidden on other locomotives, but this one it's in full view. The pipework is handed, so when you look at this end of the loco, you'll see that the main pipe runs down to the right-hand side, and at the other end, it'll obviously go down to the left. But this configuration wasn't always the same. So on 58001, when it was first introduced, it didn't have the additional filters or traps, whatever you want to call them. So they weren't present on that. But also another change that happened during the working lives was on the four corners where you've got your washer fillers. These pipes were prone to get damaged, so they added these triangular fillets or guards, which we've also got on our model. So we're going to take a look at the bogies now. So this one in particular is fitted with CP3 bogies. Now this is a particular design of bogie with the brakes in the position that they are here. The second batch of locomotives had what was called the CP3A bogie. Now they've got a visible external sandbox on the corners, whereas the sandboxes for these are just on the inside at the far end and not on the inner end. The thing we're looking at this side as well is some external or extra external pipework. So the white of the bogie brake air pipes, but you've also got the hydraulics for the hydraulic parking brake. Now this only applies to this bogie, this side. So we've got different mouldings for the CP3 bogie. We've got the CP3A bogie with the other types of sandboxes and different brakes, but we've also got the bogie that's got the handbrakes on one side. So for both types, actually 4 types of bogie over the whole fleet. So as you can see, we're on the other side of the same bogie now, and this has got just the air pipes but not the hydraulic pipes, because those hydraulic brake cylinders are just on that one side. We're going to have another look at another variation now. So if we take a look just behind me, we'll see the handrails for the cab access. So originally, as built, these were just a simple handrail, but actually later on they were modified to have a full height handrail with a baffle, which was also then later cut with an inset in there during main line days. So there are three different versions of just this handrail baffle on the back there. So another variation we've got within our Class 58 project is this area here, which is the cooler group. Now on the top they're all the same, but on the sides you've got the different radiator elements and bracing between them. So on this, you'll see on the model, we've got this type and we've got two further variations within there. If we walk along the locomotive behind me, we shall see that we've got, this is slightly later version with the external door handles. So again, as built, the door handles weren't present, they were just T-key holes. So we've got a version of the body side with the door handles, and we've got a version of the body side with the holes. But also, something that's often overlooked is the silencer that changed. As built, the silencers were not quite adequate for the job, and they went through two different iterations before we ended up at the final version, which is on this locomotive with a wider part. We've got this version we've got now, we've got the original version, which is a slimline version, but we've also got an in-between version of the exhaust, which has got round exhaust ports, which specifically apply to a few locomotives during test, which you'll see in our launch range. So one of the little known variations within the Class 58 fleet is this little diagonal corner here. Now, for some reason, reasons unknown, in the early days of the Class 58s, this was cut at a different angle, so it went from here straight across. During production, this then changed to the straight and a lower angle. During the middle period of production, around the 58-030 mark, locomotives had one cab of this design and one cab of the original design, whereas 58-001 and 002 both had the earlier cutouts. So we've got the option to fit the right cab for the right locomotive. But while we're talking about cabs, another change that happened with the second batch, they found that the cab ventilation was inadequate for the driver. So on the later batch, they actually put an extra air vent up in the top corner, just on the corner of that raised section. And that was fitted to 58-035 onwards, 036 onwards. So now we'll go up and have a look in the cab, we'll talk about a couple of other things, and we'll talk about the features on the model. So we're up here now in the cab of 58023. We'll take a look at the features and the detail to expect in your Accurascale model. As usual, we've got a full array of gauges and dials with separate pedestal and separately fitted chairs with full decoration. So expect to see all this glorious 1980s colours coming to life. As you come to expect from a Accurascale model, you've got the big powerful motor, all-wheel drive with all-wheel pickup, stay alive for uninterrupted power supply, full lighting suite, so controllable end lights, cab lights, desk lights, corridor lights, as well as two driven fans for the cooler group, big speakers, 21-pin DCC decoder access through the roof. So we've got automatic detection of bogie rotation with the fitted hall sensors, which will activate the flange squeal noise when the bogie turns. And the whole sound project has been recorded especially for us from this very locomotive. So in terms of model, it's got all the toys. Delivery is currently slated for mid-2027, and all the details on all the locomotives in our first lineup, as well as more details about the variations with this class and their history, are all in the link below. Thanks for joining me here today at UKRL, and huge thanks to the owner of the locomotive, as well as UKRL for making the site available to us. So now I think it's time I got back to recording that Class 73 from earlier.